Hello and welcome back to the Hofcast. We are in season 2. This will be our 28th episode. We're going on a year as of December 6th. That was our first episode last year. So next week's episode, we will be officially in this a year. Just got back from vacation, got off the plane here about 2 hours ago, and it wasn't as bad as I was expecting here in Ohio. So that's good. But it certainly isn't 77 and very hot as it was yesterday when I was on the beach. But I'll take it. No snow and no ice. Big show tonight. We're gonna get started with Coach Shannon Sword from Ursuline here first. We'll be announcing the Hall of Fame Huddle Player of the Week from last week. We'll have Coach Brian Miller from Norton on with us later in the show. But for right now, we're going to jump right in, and we're going to bring on Coach Sword from Ursuline. How are you, Coach?
Doing well. Not as good as you. I haven't been on vacation, but
You've been dealing with quite a bit of adversity up there. I noticed, but we'll get into that a little bit later. You are a Ohio girl through and through. You are from the Dayton area. You played at Cleveland State. You coached at YSU, coached at Ashland. Now you're at Ursuline. What is it about Ohio basketball that's just, in my mind, it puts us towards the top? Are you there? Think I lost you. And pull you down and try to start over. Well, looks like we got some technical difficulties. We'll try to get Coach Sword up. She's all the way gone now. We'll wait for a second to get her back. Like I said, this week is our first Hall of Fame Huddle Player of the Week award we're giving away, and we'll get into some players. I'll talk about some players that didn't win it, but we're certainly deserving. And we got Coach Sword back, so we'll. You there, Coach?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know what happened.
You're making me think on my feet, and I'm not real great at that. Yeah. Again, you're a Ohio girl through and through. You're from the Dayton area. Played at Cleveland State, coached at YSU, coached at Ashland. Now you're at Ursuline. I know you know a lot of in Northwest Ohio. You recruit there heavily. What is it about Ohio basketball that's just from top to bottom is one of the top states there are?
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't really know. I don't know why. But yeah, basketball is a hotbed. It's been a while since I played, but when I was in high school, there were a lot of great teams, a lot of great programs, and I mean that just hasn't changed. And I don't know what that is, but I think we've got great systems, and all of our big cities in Ohio. There are great teams in all parts of Ohio. Even like talk about Northwest Ohio, Northeast Ohio. Even though there's not big cities down there, there's some really good players that come out of every part of Ohio. Yeah, I don't know why, but yeah, we'll continue to recruit it, and our team is not all Ohio, but mostly. And yeah, there's lots of great players and great teams in Ohio.
Well, something has certainly kept you here. You've bounced around about every part of the state, but you stay in Ohio. So, we're thankful for that. I know I am. You're a great coach. You've been through some ups and downs up there, and we'll get into that a little later as well. But when you first started your coaching career, or maybe not the very beginning, but towards the beginning, you were coached with Coach Ramsey, who is a absolute legend in the women's game. What was it like coaching for somebody of that stature, and what are some of the things that you've taken from Coach Ramsey?
Yeah, that was definitely the best thing that's happened to me in my coaching career, crossing paths with her and getting the chance to work under her for 4 years total, 2 years at one time, and then went to another school and then went back with her for 2 more years. But I can't really put it to words, but I'll try. Obviously she's a great coach. She was a great mentor for me, and she wasn't one of those bosses or head coaches that didn't let you have any input. And I mean, she let me learn on my feet and gave us a lot of responsibility as coaches, and let us learn from ourselves and learn from our mistakes. And I really appreciate the freedom that she gave and the mentorship. And then being able to being one of her assistants and watching her for 4 years, I learned a ton, and I don't think I even realized the half of it until I became a head coach myself, and then really understood her job and all the things that she was handling behind the scenes. My first year or two, she got plenty of calls for me, and she still gets them. Not as often now, but she's definitely one of my go-tos, mentor, former boss, and definitely turned into a friend. So I definitely appreciate everything I've learned from her.
How hard was it to leave Ashland to take your own head coaching job at Ursuline? I know you were part of a heck of a program over there. They eventually won the national championship a year or two after you left. How hard was it to make that move, and how did you know that it was time to do that?
I felt like there were great people there at the time. We had a really good team. Actually, my last year there, we lost in the national championship game in overtime. And we had a key player that was out with an injury. And, I felt like, they'd have a great chance to win a national championship that next year. But, whether I stayed there or not, they had a great team. And, I just wish them well. I think it's, I knew I kind of wanted to stay in Ohio, and I really, working at Ashland was my only, and my first taste of D2 basketball, and I loved it. So getting the opportunity to be a D2 head coach in Ohio was just something I couldn't turn down. And I followed those guys that next year, and I was very happy for them that they won. And it didn't surprise me by any means. And I think it would have been silly on my part to stay there, thinking that, hey, we might win a national championship, because, that was definitely something they were going to achieve. They had earned that. So it was really cool to follow and see.
Yeah. What was it about Ursuline that really pulled you there, and you just knew that, okay, if I definitely want my shot at being a head coach, and this is the place where I want it to be?
I grew up in Dayton, went to Cleveland State for college. And I mean, Ursuline, we're about 25 minutes northeast of Cleveland. But to be honest with you, I hadn't heard of it. So when the job came open and I was kind of looking at postings, I saw it, and they were transitioning from NAIA to NCAA D2. And they wanted somebody with D2 experience. But honestly, I couldn't tell you where the school was when I looked at it or anything about it. And it was just kind of about reaching out and getting an interview. And the things that stood out to me when I went up was, number one, we're in a beautiful area. I mean, it's just, people think Cleveland, but which Cleveland's done a ton too to downtown, but we're not downtown. We're in a suburb 20 minutes northeast of Cleveland, and we've got Beechwood, we've got indoor mall, outdoor mall right down the street, any restaurant you could think of. Just a really great area. The campus is beautiful. When you're on campus, you'd feel like you're in the middle of the woods, like tons of trees. We've got a pond in the middle of campus. We're actually in Pepper Pike with a bunch of big homes surrounding us, only saying that because it's just very safe. It's a great place for our players to really focus on what's important, which is school and basketball first and foremost. And there's a ton of things for them to do around. And I, like a lot of recruits, I wasn't sure about we're women's focus. Like, what does that mean? Are there going to be big gates up on the campus? But it's really, because of the area we're in with so much to do, and we've got 2 other college campuses within 5 miles, I didn't think it would be as big of a deal as I potentially thought it might be when I go up. And I know it's been kind of the same thing for us when we get recruits on campus to see. I typically 95% of the time it's the feedback like, oh, this isn't what I thought it would be. So a combination of, I liked where the school was. I liked the area. I think as a head coach, you don't want to take a job if you don't feel like you can win and be successful. I felt like we were going to get the support and resources we needed to build something and win, which was important. And also just felt like I really clicked with the athletic director, maybe because she used to be a basketball coach and actually used to be the basketball coach at Ursuline. But Cindy McKnight has been wonderful through my time there and really helped us with anything that we've needed to be successful. So those were the main things. And it being a small school, I really like the people there and the small environment and the relationships that we're able to create.
You mentioned playing at Cleveland State, and I can't think of any off the top of my head, but I know that I've heard. I mean, you played there before I was in girls basketball, so I didn't actually see you play, but I've heard that you were nasty. Like you had game. Do your players are they aware that they're being coached by someone who was a Division I star and probably I'm guessing maybe still in the record books?
Oh, I doubt it. I mean, I don't think they look at it that way. And I don't think when you're coaching, it matters what you did as a player. Definitely not something I talk about. In my younger days, I would get out there and practice some with them and felt like I could hold my own, but they're not going to see me out there nowadays unless it's like token defense on a drill. But I don't know. I don't think it's something that they really care about. And like I know there are a lot of really good coaches that never played. Right. And I know playing doesn't mean everything, but yeah, I mean, I did some good things there. Learned some things there. I actually I had 2 different head coaches. I had a new coach come in my senior year, which I think was helpful when I took over at Ursuline and kind of seeing what that transition can be like and kind of knowing what some of those worries might be and kind of helping our team transition when I got there. But yeah, I'm grateful I learned from 2 very different coaches at Cleveland State and did have a good experience there as a student athlete. So I'm really grateful for that. And most importantly, I've got teammates that'll be lifelong friends from that, which is what I think is one of the best things about this whole deal, college basketball.
If I'm remembering right, didn't Joe Thomas's wife coach at CSU? Did you play for her?
She did, and it was after I left. So the head coach that came in my senior year was Kate Peterson, who was there for a long time, and she was an assistant at Wisconsin before she came to us. And one of my assistants there was Al Brown, who you probably don't remember, but he used to be one of Pat Summitt's assistants at Tennessee. And we were all like, what is this guy doing? It was awesome, but he actually he up and left like right before our first conference game and went to like South Carolina or something. And like, me as a player, I didn't realize at the time, like, oh my gosh, like this is our head coach's first head coach.
Yeah. I think we got a bad connection again. There's no reflection on Ursuline's Wi-Fi. We'll give Coach Stewart a chance to get better connected and come back, and we'll definitely finish up with her. You there, Coach? Give her a chance to reconnect, and we'll get her back up. But as I was saying before, I definitely selected the player of the week. There was several kids. I did not expect this to be as tough as it was to select a winner. There's kids that have really good numbers, and it's just so hard. You got to take into account everything. Breezy Williams from Glen Oak, 23.5 points in 2 games, 8 rebounds. I mean, that's outstanding for a guard, a smaller guard. 3.5 assists, 5.5 steals in 2 games. That she had a great week. Let's see. Kristen Chemielewski from Stowe had a great first game. Her first 2 games, she averaged 23.5 points and had 9.5 rebounds. Evelyn Albers averaged a double-double through 2 games, 16 points and 10.5 rebounds. Leibacher from Margaretta, 27.6 rebounds, 4 assists, and 3 steals through 2 games. Maren McAllister, 27.5 points, 12 rebounds, which is outstanding. She was actually very efficient too, 3 for 6 for 3, 18 for 24 from the free throw line, and 14 for 26 from the floor. Those are just some kids that had really good weeks, but did not get the Player of the Week award. So we got Coach Sword back, so I'll keep the winner secret for a couple more minutes. But we will get back with Coach Sword. I think, Coach, are you there? Just ain't my night tonight. Thought I had her. She's gone again. See if we can see if we can't get her back up. We'll take a couple minutes. But yeah, conference season started last night. The Federal League, which is always tough and very competitive. 2 one-point games last night. McKinley lost to Hoover by 1. Green beat Jackson by 1 at the buzzer. So that's just really exciting for things to come. We got Coach Sword again. We'll let her get a chance to settle down and take a seat, and we'll get her back on and see if we can't finish this with her. Coach, you ready to go?
Yeah, sorry about that. I don't know what the deal is.
Oh, it's all good. It's all good. You're really making me challenge myself and keep people's attention.
So this never happens to anyone else, huh? This is just me losing connection.
Episode 28, and it's never happened. I mean,
wow.
We've had.
Glad I could be a first.
We've had some poor connections that were maybe skippy a little bit. And
maybe it'd be better on a computer. Maybe I shouldn't be on my phone. I don't know.
It's all good.
Anyways.
Let's get into Ursuline now. I mean, you've obviously, I'm not aware of what the state of the program was when you took over, but what I do know is you had the program at the top of the conference. You had multiple conference championships. You had multiple national tournament appearances, and you actually had a chance to play Ashland in the first round one year and almost upset them. I think Coach, you there? Or you gone again? I just don't think it's meant to be tonight. We got a good start, but the powers that be do not want Coach Sword to finish this interview. So we will. I'm gonna move on. We're gonna get to our Player of the Week. She's here. She's waiting to steal the show. So we'll get back to Coach Sword when she gets back on, if she can get a good connection. But for right now, we are going to go to our Player of the Week. Chelsea Avenich is our Player of the Week this week. How are you, Chelsea?
I'm good. How are you?
Man, I am outstanding. I just got home from Florida, so I guess I could be doing better. I could still be there, but I'll take it.
Yeah.
So I was on the beach while you were dominating. All right. Some of your numbers from last week, you had 13.5 points, 13.5 rebounds, and 5 steals per game in a win over Canfield and a win over Boardman, right? Is that correct?
Yeah. Yep.
Now there were some kids that had better numbers than that. All right, but I take everything into account, and you don't know this yet, but Coach Stadoulis is going to come on as well. So we'll get some input from him on how you played last week. But I last year I felt that you guys, the schedule could have been tougher. And this year's schedule is tougher. And I think that Canfield win was huge. Canfield is a heck of a basketball team. They just lost to Stowe by 5 points. So I looked at that and I gave you a lot of credit for, having that type of performance against two Division I teams, one that is outstanding. And I think that that's just huge for your team to start the season. What was working for you last week? Like I said, 13.5 points, 13.5 rebounds, 5 steals. What felt so good last week?
The biggest thing for us, especially against Canfield, was our defense, especially our press. That really came along for us in the second half, and we were able to force like turnovers and execute on offense in transition on that, which is what gave us the momentum in that game.
And in games like that, they're not real high scoring, especially the Canfield game. It was one that you guys had to grind out. Turned out to be a very good win. Even as a sophomore, you're only in your second year of high school basketball. Do you view yourself as a leader, or maybe not vocally necessarily, but somebody that has to carry some of the load?
Yeah, I definitely would consider myself a leader, especially on the court. I try to be as vocal as possible, whether it's just like talking on defense or, just saying like good job to somebody after making a good play, or just like encouraging my teammates in any way I can. And then also just leading by example, never giving up on a play or on a shot on defense, going for every loose ball. Just like the little things, I think, is what ends up making the best leaders.
You sound like a coach's daughter.
Well, yeah.
Your dad is obviously the boys coach over there. You've grown up around the game. You got good size. I don't know exactly what your height is. I'm gonna say 5'10", 5'11", might be getting towards the 6 foot. But you got some good size, but you also have a good skill set. Have you and your dad kind of made an emphasis of being good shooter, ball handler, and passer despite your size since you've been growing up?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've kind of always grown up, I guess, in the gym, like on Sundays, especially just going in there and working with him and other kids that just kind of come in to get extra work. And that's definitely like been a huge part of like my game, is just watching film and, figuring out what we need to work on next to just keep getting better, which has been, ball handling and shooting like outside shots, definitely trying to develop that, and continue growing with that.
Well, I'm going to pull up Coach Stu. He's quite the character, so I'm not sure if this is a good idea or not. Coach Stu, thanks for joining us. How are you doing today?
Absolutely. How are you guys? Hi, Chelsea.
Hi.
Probably a long time no see, I'm guessing, huh?
Exactly. Yeah.
Coach, talk a little bit about Chelsea's performances. We know the numbers, the 23.5 points and rebounds, 5 steals. Talk a little bit about how big her performances were in those 2 games last week.
Yeah, I mean, she's doing one heck of a job for us, and she's doing it at both ends defensively. She's cleaning up every loose ball, every board. She gets a ton of steals, and one of the other things is that even as a sophomore, she is like usually the most aggressive girl out on the court, which makes a huge difference. She is constantly working on her game. Like she said, she goes in and does a ton of shooting. Of course, it helps when dad has a key to the gym. But no, I mean, I remember even after our season ended last year, after the great run we had, and I think it was that same weekend or the weekend after, I maybe got a picture of some people still working, going and shooting and doing just still doing stuff on the basketball court. And Chelsea's always been one of those. And I tell you, she really did a great job. Canfield, I don't know if they had an answer for her down low late in the game. They kept trying to man us up a little bit, and she was able to get loose. And sometimes around the hoop, once she, I think she can close her eyes and she's going to make the shot. I think she just knows it's going in. So that's kind of that's a nice benefit to have for a coach down there, no doubt.
What would you say it would be one or two of the biggest differences between her game last year, but now coming into her sophomore season?
Well, I think, she's definitely matured already in terms of playing like a junior or senior. She knows what's expected. She is looking to be a scorer. She definitely has worked on her outside shot. And I know last year, I don't even think she hit a three till real late against, it might have been against West Branch, I think. Maybe. I don't know. But, she's definitely worked on that aspect of her game. And I know in practice, she's, will be shooting and she's making so many, 8, 9 out of 10 threes constantly. And I definitely see that as a huge part of her game that she is working to improve. Her quickness overall, I definitely think has improved. And that's one of the things she mentioned that I think our press and our pressure definitely made a big impact in that Canfield game that I don't know if they were expecting. I don't know if maybe, we just kind of caught them off guard with that, but it definitely made a difference. And Chelsea was all over the place. So that has really helped.
How big was that win against Canfield? I mean, I'm looking at your schedule, not right this second, but I've looked at it, and you got a stretch of games coming up here in a couple of weeks that you got 5 or 6 in a row that are doozies, and it includes Northwest, West Branch, Salem. How big was that win against Canfield, even just for confidence reasons?
It was obviously huge. And one of the cooler things was it was a quadruple header with the boys. And so the crowd, the boys played before us, the varsity game. So a lot of the student section stayed. And it was just a great atmosphere, very similar to what you get in like the districts. And I tell you that just made it that much more enjoyable. And Canfield is so well coached, and they do so many great things for us to be able to, we were down 12 with 5 to play in the third. And we came back and took a lead by the end of the third. And then in the fourth quarter, we just kept it going. And it was a run that I haven't had in a long time. I mean, it was pretty cool. So that was
you
a
were
lot.
Down 12 in the third.
Yeah.
Didn't you win by double digits?
Yeah, we were down 5 at halftime. They scored the first 7 of the second half, and we did a timeout and made a couple plays, hit a couple threes, and just got it going. And it was on from there.
Chelsea, what do you think as far as the team overall for the team? Some things that you guys could take from that Canfield game and move it into the tough stretch.
I would say like the biggest thing is just knowing that like we can. I feel like there was a lot of like nerves going into that game, and just being able to how well we responded to that. And we were a little bit like undersized against Canfield in a way because they are so like balanced, and just being able to play against the like physical aspect of it. There's I don't know, overall we just had a really good game against them, and just building on that, looking for each other and playing good defense. There's definitely still a couple things that I think we need to improve on with our press that we keep working at, and handling like pressure from teams, which we're going to see all season long. So.
Well, I can assure you that was a great win. They gave Stowe about everything they could handle last weekend. They beat Perry last week as well. So you guys definitely should take a lot of confidence from that. Coach Stu, do you think, you might even think that this is unfair to say, but the schedule last year probably left a little to be desired if you wanted to compete at the highest level. Was that something that you specifically wanted to improve on this year and get a little bit more of the top tier teams in there?
Yeah, and Rich, it's a double-edged sword, I think, sometimes, because there was one year where we played. That was probably my third year at Marlington, and we played a really, really tough schedule. And I think we went just right around 500. And you get to the massive district and the seating and everything, and a lot of coaches didn't look at all who you played.
Yeah.
They just looked at the final record. and just picked it. And we ended up having a really tough round, tough second round matchup at someone's home gym, and we ended up getting knocked off. And it was one of those situations where, you never know how it's going to work. I think this year we want to get involved in a holiday tournament, and South Range runs a really good one. And we were lucky enough to be a sub last year with all the COVID things going on. And they asked us to come back again. And lo and behold, we're playing Hoban and Fort Fry. So, we got definitely Howland next week is no slouch. They have played 3 really tough teams and played them all tough. And, it's every game is going to be a definite challenge for us. And I think this is definitely going to be something that as we get further down the road and going in the tourney, I was a little unsure about it in years past, but this year, I can see definitely the benefits. And I think, Canfield, they're longer, they're more aggressive. They play really good, strong man-to-man defense and get up in your face. And for us to be able to handle that and be very successful in that game, I think is really going to be something we can build on. And I think playing teams that do that is really going to help us down the road.
And I agree with that. I mean, I got you guys circled as somebody who's really going to cause some noise come February.
I'm knocking on wood.
You've got the young core of Chelsea and Mason and Warner that aren't freshmen and sophomores anymore. So I love the schedule. I can't wait to see what you guys do. And I really do believe it's going to pay off in February, March. So obviously I'll be over to see you guys, and Coach Stu, I appreciate the friendship. Y'all is there for me when I have a question or need a score or anything like that. And you tell me when I got my schedule wrong on the website.
Hey, that's a long drive I didn't want anybody to get caught at the ring.
You are correct. Chelsea, you're going to get yourself a $10 Amazon gift card. I'll definitely be in contact with your dad about that. So don't spend it all on Amazon. Well, you don't.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome, and congratulations on Player of the Week, and we'll definitely be catching up with you guys.
Awesome. Thanks, Rich, a lot for everything you're doing for girls basketball. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you, guys. We'll see you soon.
All right.
Thank you for having me.
You're
welcome. See you tomorrow, Chelsea.
All righty. We got a great kid, Chelsea. Just a great kid, and she is her dad, Nick Avenich, is the boys coach over there. So you can tell that she definitely has brought up around basketball. So we actually got Coach Sword back. We're gonna go back to Pepper Pike and try to finish this out. But Coach, thanks for coming back. I know it can get a little frustrating.
Sorry about that. Okay. I'm like the worst guest ever. I apologize.
Hey, I
got my computer now.
I got people waiting to get on, so I always have a plan B ready. So, yeah, when you got to Ursuline, again, I'm not fully aware of what the state of the program was before you got there, but you certainly had taken it to the top of the conference and had some national tournament appearances. What did it take to get the program to where you guys can compete on a national level?
So this is my 10th season, and when I got there, they were transitioning from NAIA to NCAA Division II. Had never had a winning season in program history, which all doesn't sound great, but I really felt like we were going to have the resources we need, and I saw the commitment to be in at that level. So, I mean, really, I go back to people. First and foremost, we had the support on campus where we needed it. And then, we were able to, obviously, recruiting was a big piece of it. My first year, I mean, we literally got beat by 50, 60, like every night, because we were starting to play D2 teams. And when I got there, the schedule wasn't done, and the only teams that needed games were the really good ones. So that didn't help either. So we got beat really bad, a lot, but it was really about changing that culture first and foremost. It was a good group of kids. I still talk to those seniors I had my first year, and we like to laugh about a lot of things that happened that year and just how different it was for them because they wanted change. But then when it came, I don't think they quite knew exactly everything that was going to be expected in the change, but I think they'll appreciated it at the end. But honestly, the toughest thing in my time at Ursuline, so coming in that first year, and obviously we were hitting the road hard, recruiting, that was going to be a big piece of what we were doing. But the summer after my first year, we had a tornado come through Pepper Pike, and it destroyed our gym. So that's put a big wrench into our plans. And, there we were having visits and couldn't even show people an athletic facility. We actually did not, my second and third year at Ursuline, we didn't have a gym. So we picked our team up every day at the dorms in 15-passenger vans and drove them to whatever school, or it was more often at this church that we practiced at all the time because they had time for us. We played our home games at every other college in the area, not our own. That was a really challenging 2 years, but lucky for me and lucky for the program, we stumbled across some really special people who were great basketball players, that didn't care that Ursuline had never been successful in the past. They really believed in themselves and believed in their ability to help put Ursuline basketball on the map. So through those people and through the journey and all of that, we finally did put Ursuline basketball on the map, winning the conference and playing in the NCAA tournament in 2016 and 2017. So obviously it's great to win and to experience success, but I think with that group, it was just another level because of everything they'd been through. Like those kids literally committed to a school that didn't even have a gym. And I think that says a lot about them. Like they didn't care about the past or anything else. They just said like, yeah, like I can come and help do that. And I want to do that. They kind of had a chip on their shoulder. So I'm really grateful for those guys. And I'm so grateful for the group that was there to start with because they really laid the foundation. They didn't sign up to play for me or to play Division II basketball. But they did the best that they could, really helping lay in that foundation. And then we were able to bring in some really, really special people and talented players to help take us to the next level.
I remember the tornado era. I mean, that's when you had Stu coaching up there with you and Aaron Horn, and that was when I really got to know you guys and got to know the program, and I remember going to even your summer shootouts. Where I think the one I went to was at Brush. And I mean everything
started from. Yeah, everything started from ground zero. My first year doing summer shootouts, I think we had 5 teams, and we've kind of worked our way up to we'll get 40 different teams in a summer now. So you think everything, it wasn't coming into a program that had been winning 20 games for the past whatever. It was a chance to build. And so it just looks a little bit different. But, you mentioned Brandon Stewart and Aaron Horn, and those were 2 of my assistants early on, and really grateful to those guys because they really, really hit the ground hard with recruiting and really helped bring some of those players in.
I mean, to look back at that and realize that was the years, the foundation was being laid to going from not even having a gym and having to recruit without any of that and not even having a home game to 2 or 3 years later winning conference championships. I mean, when you look back at that, that's got to be very rewarding, and all the struggles that you went through those 2 years, I mean, they definitely paid off because you got to return back, rather quickly and very solid. So, the one thing about Ursuline that I know is a challenge and it's never going to change is that you're I don't know what wording you want me to use, but I'm going to say girls only, even though I know there's probably some boys there, but, how do you overcome that challenge in recruiting and say, hey, I want you to come here to play basketball and help us win championships. And how do you approach that challenge in recruiting?
Yeah, I think Yeah, it's a good question, and I think every school has its challenges and best parts and all of that. And I think for us, kind of what I've learned, we're a small school, so a lot of the players that we've had have been from smaller schools, not all, but most. So that's been a factor. And then as far as like the women's college, I mean, we're not a party school. So if somebody's looking to go to a school and they want social experience to be number one and meet a bunch of different guys, like that's not Ursuline. There is social, but the players and recruits that we've had that have had great careers, great experiences, like number one, they're focused on the classroom. I'm really proud of the fact that we've had at least a 3.4 team GPA every semester since I've been at Ursuline. And then actually this past year, our team had a 3.8 as a team, which is outstanding. I was actually fourth in Division II. So, I mean, these guys are there first and foremost to get a degree. We have several nursing majors on our team. And just a lot of kids that are they're studying a lot. They're putting a lot of time into their school. They really are passionate about their life after basketball. And I'd say number two for them is basketball. And then the third thing would be their social life. I mean, obviously our family and our faith is always number one, but then comes school, then comes basketball, and then comes social life. I think if a kid's looking for a different order, like wants to go somewhere, like I said, party school, social life number one, we wouldn't be a good fit. And obviously for me, I've been at Ursuline 10 years and trying to kind of like learn that and see, what types of people and players to go after. But I think our team right now, they're as tight-knit, great chemistry, as much or better than any team I've ever been a part of as a player or coach. And I think it goes back to number one, they all have similar values, which are school, basketball, and then they really value the relationships they do have, but it's definitely school and basketball first. And they, like I said, we're in a great area, so there's a lot of things they can go do, have fun together. And I've also had players in the past that have hung out at some of the other colleges that are close by. It just kind of depends on who it is. But yeah, I think if some people, I think initially like they would know like, hey, that's not for me, because they're boy crazy, which would be fine. Or number two would just be like, I always encourage people like, come check it out. Like come meet us, come meet our team and hear what we're all about. And like I said, literally 95% of the time it's like, wow, I was kind of blown away. I had no idea what this was going to be like. And people kind of assume things because we are a women's college. So, and I get that. And I was the same way when I came up to interview and see it for the first time. I was skeptical. So I do understand that.
And I know there's some people who aren't upset that you're all girls school. Is probably the boyfriends of some of the
well, the boyfriends and the dads love it. Yes.
You guys, for you, adversity is kind of been a thing that you've gone through several times. We just talked about the tornado that hit the gym. Currently, you're playing. Well, now you're not playing, but you were playing with 5 players, which just blows my mind. And you got a couple wins with just 5 kids. Like, how do you, as a coach? I mean, when you only got 5 kids that can play, we're talking practices, we're talking games. We can't have any foul trouble, any injury puts you at a serious disadvantage, as if you aren't already. As a coach, how do you kind of navigate that when the numbers are where they're at?
Yeah, and just we have 12 players on our roster, and 5 are completely healthy right now. We've got and probably I want to kind of give a shout out to I guess we just had some injuries kind of dating back to last year. We've got some kids working back right now that'll be clear to play second semester. And for example, we had Morgan Matamore, who was going to be a 6th-year senior for us, took the NCAA up on the COVID year, tore one ACL a few years ago, took a redshirt year, came back, killed it last year for us, was our leading scorer, great leader for us in the locker room and on the court. And a couple days before official practice started this year, she tore her other ACL. So that was really devastating for everyone. Not that one person's more important than the others, but we all know what she's been through and the decisions and the sacrifices that she has made. So that's one example of why we have 5 healthy people. But that was really devastating. But I will tell you, like, I would think of it as like, hey, if a team has 5 or 6 healthy people, which is what we've had, like practices would probably be miserable. But our group is outstanding. Like they love each other. They care. They're as competitive as any group I've ever coached. I'm not going to say we haven't had our rough times and things to get through, but they always come out on the right end of it and, are able to get their minds right. And we were able to focus on what we can control, which doesn't seem like much at sometimes, but we've had 5 games this year. 2 of them we played with, or I guess 3 of them we played with 6 people, and then 2 of them we only played 5 people. And we're 3-2 right now, and I think we've beat some good teams. So I'm very proud of them for that. I think we could have very easily laid down and died. So we're excited. We kind of feel like we're kind of holding our ground right now. We know we're going to get some teammates back here in the next month or 2 that are going to help us. But unfortunately right now we're battling some COVID issues as well. So our first few conference games have been postponed. But we've rescheduled those, and we're just taking each day at a time. And we kind of laughed the other day at practice because we can't play 5-on-5 or 3-on-3 right now. We never have played 5-on-5, but we can't play 3-on-3 right now. And we were just kind of joking like how we wish we could play 3-on-3, how we used to laugh about it, but now we wish those days were back. We literally went into our opening weekend. We played Friday, Saturday. We played 3 scrimmages, but aside from that, we hadn't played 5. We don't play 5-on-5 in practice. We can't. And they just went out there and killed it. Like their heart was amazing. Our effort, we really shared the ball well. They're playing as good a team basketball as any team I've ever seen. So heart and hustle, I think with those 2 things, like anything can happen. And I'm proud to be their coach, and I'll take this group to war, whether we have 5 or 10. And I know we'll make the best of it and do the best that we can. So I've been really proud of them to date.
I'm going to have to text some of those kids, the Clunins. I know that they play with us in Riley. I'm going to say, you guys realize you got an all Horizon League player in that gym with you if you want to play 3-on-3.
Well, Rich, I turned 40 this year, so it's a little different as you get older. But yeah. Hey, I'll get out there every once in a while, but nothing live. Honestly, probably I would need to work out more to get out there with them.
Dust off those old green Nikes.
Exactly. And those huge green warm-ups I have.
the warm-up game was a lot different back then, that's for sure.
Oh, everything was. Yeah. They
didn't
like the old uniforms we had. They were like bigger. They're like, Coach, we want some smaller uniforms. And we got some that fit better. They still roll them 2 or 3 times. I don't get it. But we also know like probably 2 or 3 years from now, everybody's going to want baggy shorts again. So we try to keep up with the times.
As you know, I'm big on wearing a uniform correctly. So there's no short rolling in the team huddle program.
Well, that's something us college coaches always look forward to, is seeing what uniforms your teams are going to have on every AAU season.
Well,
you never disappoint.
Set the bar high this year, then. Coach, I want to thank you for your time. I know you're busy. I know you guys are on break right now, so that's probably a little irritating for you not being able to play, but thanks for your time. I really appreciate. I mean, you're always there for Hall of Fame Huddle and the program and the events. So thank you so much, and I appreciate your time. Get those girls healthy, and we'll definitely be seeing you soon.
Sounds good. Appreciate you having me on, Rich.
All right, Coach. Have a good night. Bye.
You too.
I just can't imagine as a coach having 5 kids available. I mean, you got to change everything. You got to change the pace of the game. You can't get any kids in foul trouble. You always got to be worried about that one more injury that's going to put you down to 4. So a lot of credit to Coach Sword and the Ursuline Arrows up there. And I know those Clunan kids are working their tails off. They always are. So we're going to go ahead and move on to our last guest tonight. We have Coach Brian Miller waiting on us patiently. Coach, how are you?
I'm here. Just finished our game.
I know you guys played Woodridge.
Yeah, we played Woodridge tonight. I don't have the scorebook right from you. I want to say the score is like 49-21 final.
Okay.
So not our
Coach,
certainly didn't shoot very well tonight, but we'll take the victory.
that's right. That's right. The one thing that sticks out to me about Norton all the time is you guys are always competitive year in, year out. I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but I know you've made it to regionals on multiple occasions. And I mean, last year you made the regional finals and lost to the eventual state champion. If my memory serves me right, I think you probably ran into maybe Toledo Rogers once or twice, who eventually won the state title.
Yeah.
What is it about the Norton Panthers program that just allows you guys to be competitive every single year?
You know what? As you know, you gotta have some talent. I mean, you ain't winning without some quality players, and you gotta have quality kids. And I've been fortunate over the years that our kids are all from within. We breed them from the youth program up, and it's a culture of winning. I mean, once you establish a culture of success, the expectations are always there, and it just didn't happen overnight. And I would say this to any school when you hire a coach, that you have to buy into what they're trying to do, and you got to give them time. Because although I had some success a little bit early on, I had some lean years too, where I had a couple losing seasons in a row, and but I stuck to the plan, and I figured within about 6-7 years that the younger kids would start to understand what we're trying to do, and you build it. And we broke through back in 2010 to our first region, where we lost. We had the privilege of playing Hathaway Brown, which is was a major eye opener back then, because they were a legit D1 college team, skill wise, and we were good. I mean, we were good that year. We had a lot. I loved our team. I loved our chances back then, but that was the group that set the standard. And I'll never forget this. When we were at Barberton High School, and after the game, the reporters, as usual, are asking questions, and one of them, asked me. He said, "Norton hasn't been there since 1999, and what are your plans for the future? As far as where the program's heading?" And I looked him straight in the eye, and I said, "Don't worry, we'll be back sooner than you think." And we've been fortunate. We've been there 7 times, in the last 10 years. So, and not to mention, we lost a couple of district title games that kind of, stick in your craw a little bit when you lose them, because you felt like you were the better team. But that happens. Yeah. I got good kids. I got a great group here too. We lost a hell of a player last year in Kaylee Morosky, graduating. And she was a great player and did a lot for us. And I got a lot of young sophomores and a freshman girl that are, trying to figure it out right now to go with Bailey Schutza. And it's going to take us some time, but we're grinding. We jump on a heavy schedule as always. I had Notre Dame and Northwest to open the season back to back. We fought through some injuries to play them and some COVID issues. And me, I'm going to play as many D1 studs as I can find on the schedule who want to play us. So it pays off in February, though. That's all that matters to me is when we get to February, are we ready? So.
That's certainly one thing that sticks out to me about you guys. And you and I are not best friends. I mean, we don't talk a whole lot, so I'm not just blowing smoke up your rear end because we're close or anything. But you certainly don't have a problem playing anybody. When did that start, as far as the challenging schedule, and how long did it take to get everybody to buy in, as far as parents, players, administration, all that?
Right. Early on, we were in the suburban league back in the early 2000s when they, when the Nance girl played and Wadsworth was loaded and Copley. So back then, didn't really have to schedule a lot of tough teams, because we knew in the league it was going to be a grind, just trying to compete more than anything. So I really started to I try to look 2 or 3 years ahead, say, where's the team at? Where do I think we could be? And back in about 2008 was when I really started to really look at my schedule and say, I take the philosophy, if I have 8 non-league games, I'm going to play 4 stud teams for sure that I know that'll probably beat me. But we need that. We need that toughness. We need to play that kind of competition in order to prepare ourselves. Then I always schedule, 3 that I know we can compete. If it goes our way, we'll win the game. And then there's always one that I know we're dead even with and that we have a really solid chance of winning. So, last year, just a, case in point, when you're playing Wadsworth, Medina, Kent, McKinley, Laurel, you find that, those 8 quality opponents, we don't make it to regionals if I'm not playing those teams. My goal, in this league format that we're in now, those coaches are trying to build their programs, and I tell them all the time when I play them, I said, listen, I sat in your seat. There's hope around the horizon, but you got to build it from within. There's no miracle cure for this other than hard work, believing in your youth program, getting people to buy into your youth program, and getting the parents to buy into. It takes a lot of hard work to be good year in, year out. Nothing's given to you. And, we're going to get everybody's A game every time we play because the girls know they're good and teams want to play you. Teams want to beat you. It's just like, Northwest the other night. It was a great win for them, beating us. We're a good team. And they wanted to prove that, that they're a good team too. So, they did the job and they came out with the W and, that'll help their kids. No doubt about it. Give them a lot of confidence. Then the next night, a couple of days later, they hammer CVCA, who's supposed to be really good this year. So, that's what, and I tell these coaches, you want to be successful in the tournament, you got to play really good teams in regular season. That's the only way you're going to be prepared. So I think a lot of coaches are starting to figure that out little by little. But it takes courage to not be afraid to lose a bunch of games. Yeah. And not, don't fear losing 6 or 7 games. I mean, if you're afraid to lose games, then you're not going to schedule good teams because I don't care what my record is. I mean, we play for the tournament. That's our goal every year. The girls know what the goals are. They set them. I don't. They're like our goal is to get back to regionals and have a chance at Dayton. So, they set these goals and they want to play the best teams they can. So that's the challenge. Yeah. But now, you know what? Just to kind of shed some light on you and I mean, I've known you, we've known each other a long time. Like you said, we don't go out. I mean, we're not, but we see each other. I will say this. There's no doubt that the job that you do with the things that you're doing for girls basketball and the time you put in, it is amazing. It's a year-round thing. There's no way around it. I mean, it's a lot of work to run a program. And, just like for me, I'm running it on a smaller scale. You're out trying to recruit kids to play on your teams and get them to believe in what you do. And it's working because you have a lot of teams. And that's a tribute to, your hard work and the efforts that you put in and helping these kids, not only play on good teams for AAU and travel a little bit, but opportunities for kids to at least get some college exposure on that circuit. Yeah. And that's important stuff. If a kid has aspirations of playing college basketball, they do have to find their way on that circuit a little bit and play, with some of those teams and get out there, because coaches, they do see you in the summer a little bit because that's their downtime too. So I commend you for it. It's not an easy gig to do, try to get kids to buy in. And I follow you on Twitter. I got you. I mean, I'm always curious to hear your comments, see what you have to say.
Twitter follow. Coach, I know you guys are started a new league. Was it last year or this year? It's very recent though. You've had a lot of success in conference over the years. How much of a challenge is it for you to keep kids from not getting complacent when they're playing the Streetsboroughs or the Springfields or, teams that they just haven't lost to in a long time? Is that a challenge or your program to the point where they just don't overlook people anymore?
Look, I think any kid's going to be complacent when you play teams that are struggling. It's hard to keep them motivated for every game over a 22 game schedule. You're just going to have games where it just ain't their night, but you find ways to just get through it and try to work on some things. And the probably the toughest part for my program is just the lack of playing time that my core kids get, my top 7 or 8 in those games, because they don't get to play much. They're only playing in the first half, and I'm subbing at will, trying to keep the games, close. I'm not out to try to embarrass anybody at all. I want those programs to be, I wish those programs were more successful. And they are outside of our league. They schedule right. They play teams that they can compete with, and that's good for them. So I commend them for that, and they're trying. Look, we got great coaches in the league. They work hard. They do a lot of summer stuff too, and they're trying their best with the kids that they get. So our league is it's been a little bit of a struggle for us to stay focused at times, but when you're right now, trying to maintain that big 52 game winning streak in the league or whatever it is, everybody keeps, the media wants me to talk about all the time. And I'm like, I'm not big on numbers and stuff like that. I just, we just happen to be really good right now. And, as well as anybody, that ball can turn in a couple of years. And the next thing you know, here comes a new team, that has a great class that comes in. And next thing you know, I want teams to be competitive. I do. I'm looking forward to seeing what Streetsboro can offer this year, and Cloverleaf. We played Woodridge tonight. They're competing. He's got some players that play hard, and he's got a really good point guard. And and they're gonna beat a lot of teams. Woodridge is going to beat a lot of teams. We're a very tough team to compete against. Nice. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I have seen the Menser kid. She's a pretty nice ball player.
She did her best tonight to handle, try to handle Schutz's pressure. When you're going against our defense, it's you get by one girl and all of a sudden, bam, there's another one right there in your face. And she did a commendable job tonight for them, trying to handle the ball and do some things. So. I'm sure the next time we play them, that game could certainly be, a much more competitive game later this year. You just never know.
You're definitely right. Things can change, sometimes more quickly than you expect them to. But I'm gonna go ahead and say that winning streak might hit 100. It's gonna take a couple of years. It's gonna take a couple of years.
You're killing me.
Obviously. If I had money to put down on it right now, I'm saying that streak's gonna hit 100.
If I'm you, I might not want to go that far. That's another, 4 more years. And we have to. But
that's how confident I am.
Yeah, we got good. And the nice part about this program is, look, I was talking to Chris Nauer, who's the coach of Woodridge, and numbers are down for them too, and I think you probably know this as well as anybody. High school teams are struggling with numbers and having full JV teams. Most teams are playing varsity kids a couple quarters now because you got to have subs and stuff, right?
Yeah.
I've already had discussions with Camp McKinley doesn't have a JV team. So, that's a major D1 school. That's a basketball power. Certainly their varsity is good, but wow, what a tough way to have a program when you don't have kids playing. And I've been lucky over the years. I've had good numbers, but like anybody else, we're at 18 this year, and there's always going to be holes for everybody in your younger grades. It eventually hits, and I think basketball is such a tough sport. You really got to be willing to put the time in and work hard year round to be good at it. And for a lot of kids there's 10,000 other things they'd rather be doing, So I got enough pockets of kids in all my grades that I know as they come up through that we keep working with them, that when they match up together, we'll still be pretty good. So you may be right. I won't let you hang on that limb too long. But you know what? I'm going to tell you a little story, and you're going to laugh, but I think I'm the only guy to ever win a league title that lost to a team that didn't win a game but one game all year. And that would be me against Springfield, probably about that. It happened to Kara Cook. You remember Kara Cook?
Oh, absolutely.
Back in 2012. Yeah, we were 12-0, and we just beat Ravenna. And back when Ravenna was really good, we had just beaten them. And the next day, a few days later, we had to play Springfield. And I was missing a couple kids from injuries from the Ravenna game. And it went into overtime, and we lost on a half-court shot. And that was their only league win that year. So we went 13-1, and they went 1-13. And people have been relentless on me for years on that. I just you just never know.
Honestly, I don't even remember that. That's 2012. I was coaching at Northwest.
You probably didn't have time to even worry about that at the time, but
I do remember we played you guys and we won it was either a single or double overtime game.
I think it might have been the only year it might have been the only game that Post played that year, wasn't it? The big tall girl, I forget her name, Crossland.
Ashley Crossland.
Yeah, she was a great player too, but then she never ended up playing the rest of the year. But
she played 2 or 3 games that year. Here's another thing that I got to give you a lot of credit on. You play teams that, in my mind, and again, you're not going to agree with this because you're the coach of Norton. So I've seen you beat Bookdale a couple years ago in the regional final. It might have been the regional semifinal, but I did not think that there was any way that you guys were going to win that game. You did. You not only did you win it, you stifled Bookdale. And then even last year against Granville, I would have lost money. I mean, you can get mad at me, but Granville had so much talent. And there's nobody who would have picked you guys on paper except for you and your players, which is great. But you found a way to win that. Like, how much time goes into scouting and getting these kids prepared, especially for games like that where athletically or talent-wise, you may be the team on the short end of the stick.
Yeah. Certainly Granville they were a great team last year. But I picked that bracket. I wanted to get out of our area. I've been in our area for so long. I just wanted to play different teams in the regionals. If I made it that far, that was my goal. That's why I picked the district that I was in, because I knew we'd go down south and play back in Mansfield, which we've been there before. But preparation for us is critical. We do a lot of scouting. We give them a full scouting report days in advance, and tendencies, and we go over plays, and we know who their best players are, and we know what people are going to do, and the girls put time into it. They watch a lot of video. Now with the advent of all this huddle stuff, I mean, you can get video anywhere really. If you're not preparing your team for your opponents, you're doing a disservice to your kids, because there's a lot of coaches that may not do it because they're like, well, we're not very good anyway. But I would tell you what, it'll save you probably anywhere from 8 to 10 points just by knowing your opponent, knowing a couple things, inbound plays, some things to keep them scoring, understanding what they're trying to do. And Granville was a complex team for us, because we didn't really play anybody that shot the three as many times as they have. And boy, it was a tough call. Do you really cover the arc hard? And we had to make some really tough decisions in our transition defense. Normally we like to sprint to the key and close out quickly, but in that game, our job was to sprint to the arc and close out from the arc up. So and that took a lot of time to prepare for them. And then, to bounce right back. And then, of course, we had to play Napoleon, who we already had the scouting report done for them anyway. And we were well prepared for them. But you know what? Hey, when you get to the regional final, it's a tight game with a few minutes to go in the third. It comes down to who makes a couple shots. And you know what? They had the girls that had been there, and because they were there the year before, they were heading to states the year before, and they didn't get a chance to play because of COVID. And they were experienced, and they kept their cool, and they made those 2 threes late in the third to go up 7 going in the fourth. And you know, and we knew what they were going to do, and he knew what we were going to do. That's why the score. Everybody's like, "Why are the scores so low for you guys in regionals?" I said, "Well, first of all, the teams are good, and it's hard to score. When you're good and you're defensive minded, it's hard for teams to score. And you know, those are good teams. And you know, Granville will get their rematch coming up here in a few weeks there in Wadsworth's tournament. So Booth managed to sucker me into playing them in his holiday tournament for he's to be good for basketball. I said, yeah, for who?
Yeah.
for him, but
you definitely graduated more than they did. Couple more questions, Coach.
Sure.
You're definitely a high intensity coach. You get after it. There's definitely times where you can be loud. What do people, what do you want people to know about Coach Miller that they're not just going to get from watching you coach a game?
Oh, I think, when you're on the court, it's game. That's like I tell the girls inside the black lines, we're here to play, and I'm coaching you, and I'm not your buddy. It's game time. It's time to focus on what our task is. When the game is over and, we're at practice and we're outside those black lines in the hallways at school or having a team function or, me just talking to them on the phone. I think one thing the girls would always tell you is that I care. I care about what they're doing in their life. That means more to me really than the basketball game itself. I worry, I don't have daughters per se. I had sons. So, these girls are like all the daughters that, a guy would be lucky to have in his life because I got great kids. I've had great parents over the years. I care about what happens in the community. I care about what happens to the kids. And I want them, my goal for them is when they leave this program is I want them to be empowered to believe that they can take care of themselves, that they don't need to lean on somebody else to make a living. And and I'm always there for them, when they need something. It's always a pleasure when I get invited to their weddings and all that stuff, over the years. And it's just a tribute to the fact they know that I've always been there for them. And that's what I want everybody to know, that it's just not about basketball here. That's why I've been here, 18 years. It's more than it's about relationships. It's about their relationship with their families, with the basketball family. Their faith plays a big role. And just, things that we try to do, I try to steer them in positive ways. I don't make decisions for them. I'm like their parent a little bit. I want them, I give them rope and I let them, do their own thing. And, but I'm the sounding board for them. If they're struggling in life, they come to me and we try to solve problems. And, and that's what makes it great. As when you're meeting with your girls and in your program, it's always nice to know, who their parents are. Do they come to the game? If you got a kid on your team whose parents aren't going to be there, you always kind of want to spend a little more time with them during that day because you know that they need somebody that they can talk to so that they feel like they're, a part of what's going on. And that's what's unique about our program is our kids love each other, and I love them all. And they're just great girls. And I just want them to be successful wives and moms someday. So that's all that matters to me.
I haven't had any former players get married yet, but I certainly have a couple that have kids. So it's probably only a matter of time before the weddings start coming too.
Well, listen, better save some money up now because when they start coming, it doesn't happen 1 or 2 at a time. It's about 15 or 20.
That's true. That's true. Coach, I'm gonna leave you with the hot seat question.
Oh,
it's not really a hot seat.
I knew you were going to ask something tough. It's just a matter of when.
It's probably the toughest question of the night.
All right.
You, as you said, you've been to regionals multiple times. It's not even it's a common thing for you guys at this point. What is it going to take for the Norton Panthers to get over that hump and break through that threshold and make a trip to the state semifinals?
Well, that's a great question, because that's the one thing that we talked about preseason this year, in the summer. And that is, girls, we've been there a lot, but we haven't broken down that door to get to the Final Four. And and I've had some really good teams that I thought had great chances. And you got to have a little bit of luck sometimes. So this year you said, listen, we got to change some things. We got to become better. We got to become a better shooting team, because the game is morphed to an outside type of game. And, when you don't have like great post players who can score inside at will, you got to be able to make shots. And, for us, our defense will always be there. I mean, you see our scores, they're low scoring games. That's not been our problem. Our problem is, can we make clutch shots to get ahead? And that's the one thing that we have not been able to do. And I can honestly admit is we've never had the lead going into the fourth quarter of any of my regional final games. So, that's something that we're trying to correct. And we're going through some growing pains right now doing it, because we're changing some things. And right now we're struggling a little bit making shots. But I keep telling the girls, it's not about November. It's about February. And, I'm looking, I don't want us playing our best basketball right now. We never have. But more importantly, we're going to figure out how to make shots and how to create open shots for all of you, so that we need to score. We have trust in each other that person's going to make that jump shot to give us the lead. And, I've never really focused on that much in the past. I've always had players who were able to score a little bit on their own. And then when you get to regionals, It's hard. It is hard, man. Those games you've seen them. They're rough games.
Oh, yeah.
You get there. It's a grind. And, and the referees let you play a little bit. And then all of a sudden they'll start calling it, and it kind of throws girls off a little bit when things aren't going their way. And, we got to fight through that. And, sometimes I recall 2 years ago, we weren't supposed to really be very good after we graduated, the Housleys and the Hosies, and we were really good the year before. We had 8 seniors graduate, and we came back and went to regionals again with no seniors. We were young. And I kind of look at that year as like this year. No, the expectations from the outside probably aren't as high, because we lost, some really good players from last year's team. But I have some really good players that are young, that are ready to do it. But it's going to take some growing pains to get them there in January and early February before it happens. So we're not very good right now as far as like how we're playing, but we're winning. But as you know, you've been around long enough. You've seen my teams. Usually by about the middle of January and on, we're ready to start playing tournament basketball. So hopefully we find that change, and we can finally get down to Dayton one of these years. Maybe it's this year.
I can definitely say, no matter what time of year it is, the Norton defense is regional worthy from day one.
It is. We'll play hard. There's no doubt about that. We will play hard. So
absolutely.
But, it's an honor being on your show. I appreciate it. I certainly, and I mean this from the heart. It's nice to see guys who are doing things in the off season for kids, trying to help them, and not just looking at the dollar. And that's the thing that I've noticed in your program. I don't see you looking for the dollar. I see you really out there talking to kids and talking to coaches for them, and promoting your program for the benefit of them and not for the benefit of some financial gains or whatever you're in it for. I know why you're in it, because you've been doing it a long time, and you've earned the respect of people with your huddle teams. And I've watched your teams when I go watch AAU events, and those teams, those kids play well. I mean, you could tell they come from it's a program there. You do a good job with getting those kids the opportunities that, they normally wouldn't maybe have, because you're willing to take on kids may not be an all-star, but they fit what you like to do, which is,
Yeah.
you know, it's about them. It's about the kids. And I wish there were more of you out there like that, because that's a lost art a little bit in some of the stuff that I see. So I commend you for all that you do out that way.
I really appreciate that. I just now got over my girl Rachel Bollier not being able to be PTC Player of the Year.
Listen, I didn't know if you were ever going to bring that up today, but I figured it might happen at some point where you might throw that out there. But yeah, that was a tough time. I mean, you and I never really talked about that, although I knew you were pretty upset about that. Rachel was a great player. There's no doubt about it.
It's certainly not anything that's within my control, but I just felt like if there's two players that could share it, I just felt like she should have been one of them. But
I wouldn't disagree with you on that one. But the unique thing about it is I don't vote. I can't vote, for my kids. So it's a vote of the other coaches. And, you know how voting is. I just listen, there's times when I'm in those meetings and I walk out of there and going, I don't know what these people are thinking, but some of the kids that end up there I just shake my head and go, do you watch the actual game, or do you just want to make sure that you get a couple kids? That's why I like league stuff. It's nice awards for the kids, but you know what? Boy, is that just league awards are so tough. Parents are upset. Coaches are upset. If there's one thing that just drives a lot of negativity, it's definitely league awards in all sports. It is. It's just a tough call. And
I generally try to stay out of it. I don't even give my opinion on a whole lot of stuff, but man, I don't even remember the details about that year, but Rachel definitely led Streetsboro to like the greatest season in school history.
I think it was.
With just unbelievable numbers, and didn't have the luxury of playing on a Norton. But the next time we get you on here, I'm telling you.
Hey, look, she would have definitely thrived. There's no doubt about it. That girl could shoot. No doubt about it.
I'll have to get you on again in the summer, because the Barberton shootout, the Tri-County, is always my favorite.
It's a great
I wasn't
shootout.
there much this year because I was on vacation. I did make it like a couple games. But we'll have to get you back on the summer and talk some about that, and maybe we'll even bring up the story of when you tried to throw out a referee of your own game.
Look at the memory you have. It's amazing.
Steel trap up here.
Well, listen, when you reach that certain point with a ref who's had problems all day with a lot of coaches throwing people out from the stands and all that, I think you just reach a point where it's just time to exit and let's just move on. But that's a fun day for another day.
That was a fun day.
Yes, it was.
Coach,
I welcome the opportunity to come on anytime, Rich. It's always a pleasure. I love talking to you when we see each other out and about. And, boy, I look forward to, catching some of your games again this summer, some of your teams play, because you got some really good players on those teams. There's some really good teams out there.
Absolutely. And I'll definitely do my best to get to Norton game. But, again, I know you played at night, so I really appreciate you taking the time after a game.
Oh, it's awesome.
So thank you a whole bunch, Coach.
Hey, we'll talk to you soon. All right. Have a good night.
All right. Good luck.
All right. We'll see you.
Bye. All right, guys. That's the show for tonight. Again, Coach Shannon Short from Ursuline, Brian Miller from Norton, I didn't even realize the guy's been to regionals 7 times out of the last 10 years. That's very impressive. Congratulations again to our Hall of Fame Moto Player of the Week, Chelsea Avenich. She did a great job, 13.5 rebounds and 13.5 points and 5 steals in 2 games. Look forward to seeing who we got this week. Voting will open up Saturday night. So I'll definitely let everybody know about that again. Again, thanks for tuning in. Always have a great time on the show. We're back to Tuesday night next week. I already got several really good guests lined up for next week. So I hope to have you guys back. Always remember, just treat everybody well. Do something good for somebody else. And please